Hello everyone, Pally here, and welcome back to Path of Exile 2. This is our level 68 Blood Mage, the very same Chaos Witch that we were playing in our previous video. I have taken this character to the end of the campaign. I have done one map just to prove to myself that I can do them. I don't want to do any more maps with you guys, but this is a phenomenal time to take a bit of a break from all of the action and show you guys how our build has evolved since our previous video. And don't you worry, if you didn't see that last one, I can catch you up to speed pretty quick. So our main way of dealing damage previously was two abilities that work in tandem together. One is called Essence Drain and the other is Contagion. Essence Drain is a bolt of chaos damage that I can shoot across the screen, and Contagion allows us to then take any damage over time effects that are on an enemy at the time of their death, and then when they die, they kind of spread that plague around to everyone else as well. Hey, we have a nice showing of elites crowding me at the waypoint. Hey, this is good. We can show off our true power right away. So that was the baseline of what we were doing before. And basically, I just didn't have access to the higher skill gems, so we weren't incorporating them into our build yet. We do have access to them now, and let me tell you, they are incredible. Oh, another thing we had going on before was a Blasphemy aura with 2 curses, and that is still in play. And I had no idea that those curses would soon allow me to deal monstrous amounts of damage with a new ability called Hexblast. Basically, if a target is cursed, we are able to detonate that curse to deal damage. Normally, you would manually, I mean, maybe not normally, but I feel as though the intention of curses is to cast them on the ground. But because we have the invisible bubble of cursing everyone in our area, we immediately detonate a curse with Hexblast. We don't have to cast anything else again. The curse is just reapplied, and then we can detonate it again. So I'm able to just kind of sit still and spam big chunks of damage into everyone that approaches us, while I'm also applying them, just stuffing them full of damage over time and having that damage over time spread across the entire screen. It's actually super duper satisfying. We do have this totem as well that helps us spread our dots, and you may have noticed that I'm shotgunning my Essence Drain out, whereas previously it was just a single target ability. I did lose some damage by doing that, but it plays super well with the Dark Effigy totem. Let me find a big pack and I can show you why I think it's so cool. Come on, friends. Gather together. So basically, I can put the totem down back here, send our Essence Drains towards our enemies. Those Essence Drains spread out, spreading dots on all of them. I then Contagion. When they die, that spreads their dots. And the totem just keeps up sustained fire, and it's also applying a ton of withering debuffs, which makes it so my chaos damage does even more damage to our enemies. Oh! Should I not show an in-game boss? Let's maybe not show this boss. I'll go find another boss and you can see what our damage looks like. I don't want to spoil anyone in our campaign stuff, you know what I mean? Oh, this might be an even better example. So Totem, Contagion, 1 Essence Drain. And then look at that totem just ripping into everything. Yes. That's pretty good. Now, I do, before we kill the boss, as I'm still looking for them, I do want to mention that there was a lot of discussion in the previous video about our Ascendancy, and I was part of the discussion too. When we first got Sanguimancy, I ended up taking a point out of this because it was just making me spend too much life and too much mana. I went from managing 1 resource to managing 2, and at the time, I didn't have my big hitter ability like Hexblast, so my damage was too low, and I was basically losing the battle of attrition versus bosses. There was some discussion in the comments about whether or not I would be healing with this setup from our spellcast, and I'm happy to report that I am. Now, it's not healing in the way that I thought. For instance, if I just cast this Hexblast over and over, look what happens to my HP. We're infusing our own life into these abilities. But 1 hit on an enemy is usually more than enough to replace the amount of life that we spent. And as we start running into multiple enemies, we're healing off of each of them that gets hit with the Hexblast. So we are able to recoup our HP very easily, no problem, as you just saw there. Now, the dot itself is not what's healing us. So the little bit of decay that we're sending out on all those enemies is not healing us. It's just the initial hit from Essence Drain and then our Hexblast slam. But it's more than enough healing. Okay, this is a boss, but it's one you're all gonna kill, and it's one that I... in particularly low, so I don't feel too bad about killing it. So our whole setup is just sitting the totem down and waiting for it to do its job. Once it acquires the target, which it can only do after I get some damage over time on them, I have to wait until this boss stops moving. Hey, there we go. So once our damage over time is in place on a boss, we simply drop the totem. The totem is then poisoning them and applying wither, which increases our damage. And then we just stand next to bosses and hit them really hard. Our curses are making it so we take less damage from nearby enemies, so we're actually pretty safe here, all things considered, even though my character is extremely squishy and is not ready for maps in any way defensively. I was still able to stand super close to every boss throughout the campaign with little to no issue. I say that as I almost got one shot by some fire that I stood in there. You get what I'm saying? You're picking up what I'm picking down. So how does all this work? How's it all come together? And what changes have we made to our passive tree since our last video? Well, let's go find out. As always, if you guys are enjoying the content, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button. It helps us out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. Oh, and I just want to say, I picked up this mantra this year. It's called F around and find out. Usually it's like what people say before they get their butt beat. It's like fighting words. But I use it as an actual way of like going out into the world and acquiring knowledge. So everything I'm doing is iterative. It's working for me. You may have better ideas that are working better for you, and I would love to hear them down in the comments. I believe in sharing all knowledge out there. So this is our setup right now. We have Hexblast, which is our main way of dealing damage now, our main way of detonating all of that damage to spread across the screen. You do need curses to have this work, and we are providing passive AoE curses, and I'll show you how that works in just a moment. We have concentrated effect to increase the area damage but lower the AoE, just making it more potent when we press. Can I cast in my hideout? Nice! Making it more potent when we press R to lay down that damage. Then we then have controlled destruction, more damage with hits and ailments, but they cannot critically hit. I am not a crit build. If I was, you could probably get even more damage out of this. And then, I think this is one of the most important parts, Arcane Tempo. I realized that cast speed is probably the most important stat in the game for me personally. The more cast speed I have, the better everything feels. Let me tell you, standing still to give your life into an ability to have that hit an enemy while you're just getting beat up by everyone wasn't the gameplay I was looking for. More cast speed means I'm moving damage out faster. I can move more because I have less idle time, and it ups our DPS quite a lot as we're sending, you know, character sheet DPS, who cares? What does that even mean? As we're sending that damage into our enemies. Essence Drain is our main way of applying dots from afar before we do Contagion. As I mentioned, I kind of turned mine into a bird shot, like a shotgun, because I didn't like hitting one Essence Drain on one target, another on another, another on another. I just want to shotgun all of that damage out there and get it done. Now, there were some drawbacks to that, and I'll show you exactly what that was, just in case you want to change it. So I'm using Unleash. Previously, we were using this on another ability. I like it here a lot more. Unleash just lets you get additional bolts, additional projectiles with certain setups. Chain is an ability that does not lower our dot damage. Now, let me show you how you would find this stuff out. You can unequip these, click this arrow, and then take a look at the projectile damage as well as the damage over time damage. Both of these are important to an extent. One of them is more important because the projectile damage does not get spread with contagion, the dot damage does. So, if we apply chain, you're going to see our character sheet damage goes down quite a lot. That is because the projectile damage was nerfed. However, if we unequip that again and look at our damage over time, 702 is the dot damage, and as we equip chain, 702 is still the dot damage. So, chain's very, very nice for, once again, getting more projectiles out and moving, but there still wasn't enough spread for me personally. So I made the decision to lower the damage even more. with Scattershot. Now, this lowers the projectile damage and the dot damage as well, so it is making my damage over time weaker. However, as I'm clearing through big packs, Essence Drain is no longer my main damaging ability, and I'm just trying to get more dots spreading more quickly. So if I have more projectiles, that means I'm spreading more things to more enemies easier, and it lets my totem acquire more targets much more quickly, because it's not just one or two people getting Essence Drained, it's everyone in front of me in that direction getting Essence Drained. If you wanted to change that, that's more than able. This is just how I like it set up. Blasphemy, we are running with Despair, and we are running with Enfeeble. This is the same two curses we were running before. I did put Ritualistic Curse in as a modifier. This is a curse-specific AoE increase. You could also put in Magnified Effect. I have that around here somewhere. I think we were running that in there last time. If you're ever curious about how big your curses are, you have to go into here and find Curse Radius. We did a bunch of testing with this throughout the week. Dark Effigy Totem, I couldn't live without it. We have Ancestral Urgency just to make the cast time of this better. I realized the importance of the totem. I hated using the totem, so I tried to find a bunch of ways to make this better for me. Faster cast time was the answer. I even did the thing where you can like put 2 totems down. I don't think that's worth it at all. Just make the initial cast faster, and it improved my experience. We have Withering Touch on this, although as you get quality on your Dark Effigy, it withers on its own, so maybe we don't even need that later, but as for right now, we have it. And we also have Envenom on our totem, which is applying a poison that we can also spread with Contagion. Contagion itself has Hinder set up in it. I have some bonuses in our passive tree that are giving us some Hinder increases, as well as Magnified Effect and Expanse. Now, I don't need to cast Contagion all the time, and Expanse gives it 50% more area of effect. I believe that also affects its spread AoE. I'm not 100% on that. I'm effing around, and I'm finding out right now. If you have any feedback, I would like to know. Now, unfortunately, with our setup right now, I don't have enough spirit to run Grim Feast. In fact, I'm actually thinking about picking up another scepter to maybe make that a little bit easier on me. But Grim Feast is wonderful. It's just restoring our energy shield. We can also set up with Vitality, so it's restoring some of our health, negating a little bit of that cost of our own HP as we pump out damage into our abilities. And I just had clarity on it. I don't even need the clarity on it. We could take that out and just make it a little bit easier for Grim Feast. I'm just a few spirits short at this point. Now for the passive tree, I don't think I changed too much since our last video. I was already pretty afraid of Event Horizon and Spaghettification, so I think this should look relatively familiar, but I'll walk you through the process here. So starting out, I did want more energy shield. I was super squishy. We could probably go for more damage at this point, and that would be totally fine. I did grab Pure Energy, Practice Signs, and Raw Destruction before picking up Entropy for increased chaos damage, and then making my way over towards Spiral into Insanity for some increased chaos damage. Now, a new addition that I have made recently is working towards Spiral into Mania for that 10% increased cast speed, and I'll be picking that up next time I level up. We then made our way up north, getting Dampening Shield, and made our way over to Lingering Horror for some more cast damage, for some more chaos damage, excuse me, and then Zone Control. I'm a big fan of this. Enemies you curse are hindered with reduced 15% movement speed. We're cursing everyone around us all the time. That is super easy to maintain. We then also picked up hindered capabilities. 30% increased damage with hits against hindered enemies. Debuffs you inflict are also increasing 10% of that slow magnitude. We used to go up this path and make our way towards Whispers of Doom. Instead, I've doubled back this way because eventually I'm going to put some more points into Void, getting some more chaos damage. I made my way up top, got the Jewel Socket, and then Whispers of Doom is how we apply that double curse. So if you like double cursing enemies, you're going to want to pick this up early. If you don't like that aspect of this build, you could probably just avoid this area entirely. Although I do think I am going to pick up Master of Hexes at some point. As we look off to the east, this is probably the most important node for us to talk about because gain 11% of damage as extra chaos. This is a chaos damage multiplier. It's much more valuable than most of the other chaos nodes that we have looked at. Wither Away allows me to get more withered stacks on bosses, so we can increase our chaos damage. It allows us to get up to, I think, 70 stacks now, and the default is 50 stacks, so that's quite nice. And then these little branches here are just for more cast speed. Anywhere I can find cast speed, I want to get it. As we look down towards the monk starting area, you can see I'm getting even more skill speed here. Skills are spells and abilities, so it's basically the same thing. This is something I really liked when we went for Sanguimancy, when we were actually starting to use our Vitality Siphon and stuff with our Ascendancy. Conservative casting makes it so our mana regeneration rate's a little bit faster, but more importantly, the cost of skills is reduced. The cost of skills, I believe, is a 1-to-1 ratio. So if something costs mana, it then takes from my health the same amount. If something doesn't cost as much mana, I should be holding on to some more of my HP. So that's our setup. I think it's pretty good. I gotta be honest, I'm really enjoying it. If you have any recommendations on how we would change this, I am all ears. As far as our gear, I am feeling very squishy going into maps, but this is my wand. Increased chaos damage, increased spell damage, and increased level of chaos spells. That 20% increased cast speed is really, really nice on this. But there are more modifiers for weapons as well. So you can get extra chaos damage instead of increased chaos damage, and I believe that would be a multiplier. So I do need to keep my eyes out for a new weapon soon. I have swapped away from the scepter in place for a shield, giving me even more chaos damage and cast speeds. My resistances overall are looking okay. I honestly thought it was going to be a lot worse. And the rest of my gear is mostly just resistances, trying to increase our energy shield, trying to increase our max life, and sneaking in any increases to chaos damage that I can find along the way. We definitely have plenty of room to improve our gear. And I'm not even thinking about charms yet. What am I supposed to do with charms? Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button. I do want to continue to play this character and bring them into maps. I know in PoE 1... I kind of was notorious for hitting my wall at around 85, level 85. That's kind of when you have all of your pieces together, the idea is set, and then it's just about perfecting the idea a little bit more. I don't feel myself losing any steam at all right now. I am enjoying the game a ton. I'm playing through on multiple characters. This is my only character at endgame right now, but I have plenty more on the up and up. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you. I gotta go stream. I delayed it because I was working on this video. So, take care. Bye.